Discover the best in local business news with a subscription to the IBJ and Inside Indiana Business. For a limited time, try us out for just $1 a week for 8 weeks. Claim this limited time offer now at ibj.com/trial offer.
We've endured Great Depression, world wars, pandemics, but have continued to grow and be a viable company in the community of Jasper and DuBois County.
Indiana Furniture, a powerhouse in the heart of Southern Indiana's robust woodworking region. CEO Max Verkamp on the secret sauce to staying in business for 120 years. Challenges in the business furniture industry post-COVID and what's next on this edition of the Business and Beyond podcast presented by PNC. And I'm pleased to be joined on the podcast this week by Max Verkamp. Max is the president and CEO at Indiana Furniture, longtime Indiana company based in Jasper. Max, how are you?
I'm doing well today. I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. Let's get right into it. To me, the furniture business is fascinating in terms of its history, its heritage, the strength that it has had for so many decades in Southern Indiana. A number of companies are part of that history. Give folks, and I guess kind of the thumbnail description of Indiana Furniture, because we could probably spend an hour talking about the history. But in terms of the history, the heritage at Indiana Furniture, I think it dates all the way back to almost 1900, right?
Yes, it does. We were founded in 1905, actually St. Patrick's Day, 1905. So we turned 120 years old this past spring. And we were founded by the Men's Business Association in Jasper. They wanted to create employment opportunity for residents of Jasper. So they got together, got about 100 investors in the company. Many of these original investors were some of the original German immigrants that came to Jasper, or some were actually maybe first generation American citizens. So these people pulled their money together, decided to create a woodworking industry and business. And so the wood supply was plentiful in this area. They had the skill set to make different wood products, whether it's secretary desk or teacher desk, things like that. So they created this business that has now been around for 120 years. Interesting side note, my great-great-grandfather, who came from Germany, was actually one of the original investors in the company. So wow. I have a personal tie to the company as well.
Yeah. Plentiful wood supply, obviously one of the main reasons Jasper in Southern Indiana is such a hotbed for furniture makers. But how did that, as you think back on it and thinking about the history of it, not only Indiana Furniture, but the other companies that began to form and populate down there, it really became the industry in Southern Indiana, right?
Yeah. When you look at commercial office furniture, even to this day, DuBois County is one of the major hubs across the country in manufacturing. Western Michigan's a very large one, but DuBois County is a very significant player as well. So my major competitors, oftentimes when I'm competing across the U.S., are actually in my backyard. They're my neighbors. You know, we compete against each other to try to get business, but we also are neighbors and friends at the same time.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because there are some major companies, including Indiana Furniture, some big time companies in Southern Indiana in that business. But in many respects, it's somewhat of a family business.
Yeah. So from an Indiana Furniture perspective, we have a lot of descendants continue to own the company from those original investors back 120 years ago. So we're very much a family-owned business, not one specific family. It's just multiple families. So it's been very interesting working for a smaller company like that. Indiana Furniture is a little smaller than some of our other competitors in the county, but still compete with them every day.
Give us, again, a thumbnail description of the industry in DuBois County, but also more broadly, Southern Indiana, in terms of the furniture business. How many? You don't have to be specific, but how many companies, how substantial the industry continues to be today?
Yeah, so from an office furniture perspective, there are companies like Kimball, OFS, Jasper Group, some very significant names in the office furniture space. But then you also get kitchen cabinet manufacturing, very similar. Master Brain Cabinets, they have multiple facilities here in the county. So there's a lot of woodworking done, whether it's in the commercial office furniture space, whether it's in the kitchen and bath. Best Office Chairs and Ferdinand, another large company as well. This economy down here sees a lot of manufacturing in that woodworking space.
How has the industry involved? Technology obviously plays a major role, certainly in all industries, but in particular in the furniture business. But there is that craftsmanship piece of it as well. What is the current day in terms of the furniture business, the office furniture business, that balance between technology and getting that product out, but also the craftsmanship piece of it?
You hit it. You hit the nail there in that it's really a balance because there are parts of the business that you can really automate. You can, where very few people are touching the product. It's really people running the machines, making sure all the components flow through. But then there are components of the process that are very much hands-on, like an upholsterer for a chair. Highly skilled. You need experts that know how to do it because when you have a very well upholstered chair, then that's going to be recognized in the marketplace versus something that isn't. What our focus continues to be is automate where we can, whether that's moving product through the facility, cutting and machining, but then ensuring we have the right skills in areas like upholstery or in assembly with all the different options that are included in the furniture. So there's really that balance that we have to work through every day.
Talk about your customer base, where it largely is here domestically. If you have any global customers, what's your customer base look like?
Yeah, so we focus really on the US market. That's probably 99% of our business is in the US to US customers. Now, they will export if they have facilities outside of the US, but we're selling within the US. And we target different segments. So we do a lot with the federal government in various branches. We also do state government contracts, local governments. We work with all types of commercial business, from banks to law firms to just general businesses. Education footprint will be not necessarily in the classroom, but will be in common spaces, offices, things of that nature. So we play in a lot of different segments and really across the United States.
How is the furniture business, the office furniture business these days? Certainly, lots of uncertainty out there, inflation and tariffs and, national and geopolitical issues out there. But how would you assess the state of the industry?
We're seeing minimal growth, the industry as a whole. It's very uneven. There are good trends in that you see more companies pulling people back to the office, at least on a hybrid schedule, feeling the need to get people to work together on a day-to-day basis and the value that that can bring. So there's some positive trends like that. You do more recently see some layoffs for some companies, which would be a negative. So it's really trying to navigate and understand where the opportunities are because they're definitely there. So, and sometimes it may not be in the major metro markets. Maybe they're in the secondary markets. Their economy is a little more stable. It doesn't fluctuate as much. So we've been able to find pockets that continue to be good for us selling into.
Yeah. As you look at workforce, obviously is a big issue for all companies across all industries. How do you find the ability to get workers in that segment in your space? Do you find that young people growing up in Jasper matriculate into the industry like they always did, or is it a different scenario?
Some do. I mean, Dubois County typically has one of the lower unemployment rates in the state. So we're competing against that. We are also looking at, as I mentioned earlier, having other manufacturers do exactly what we do. People's skill sets are very transferable within this market. So to keep our people, we're very focused on retention and ensuring we're doing the things that will keep people with us. Obviously, the pay, the comp, and the benefits, that's table stakes, but it's other ways. How do we engage with them? What kind of environment do we have for them to work in? What's their break room? We want something very comfortable, different things of that nature. What kind of programs do we have for employee recognition? So a key piece is on retention, that once we get them, we want to keep them. We look at, from an attraction perspective, ensuring that our marketing is not only in the county, but also outside the contiguous counties, because probably about a third of our workforce will come into Jasper from outside the county, drive up from about 45 minutes to an hour for the opportunity to work here. So we're very focused on that as well, to make sure that people know who Indiana Furniture is outside of just Dubois County.
As you look at, and you mentioned it a moment ago, but the impact of COVID and working from home, did that change? As you mentioned, a number of companies now increasingly are bringing workers back, but how did that impact the industry overall? Was that a transformative moment in terms of everybody staying at home and kind of the thought process that companies are making?
Yeah, it was very disruptive. Obviously, when people are kicked out of the office and aren't coming to the office, that's not good for our business. Personally, we never sent people home. We took the attitude of, we're going to put the right protocols in place, but we're being a manufacturer. We felt like if we were asking our production team to come in every day and make product, that we, from the office perspective, were also going to be coming in every day. We felt like, from a relationship perspective, from a cultural perspective, we needed to be aligned around that we're not going to ask part of the business to come in every day and part not. And that worked out very well for us. But as we looked across the country, there were segments of the business that almost dried up there for a while when nobody was coming in, concern about what would that mean for business for particular segments of the industry. But over the last few years, you've really seen more people saying, we think we're losing part of our culture, part of our efficiency and effectiveness if we're 100% remote. And so we continue, as I read different things, more people are coming back, at least into the hybrid, where we get people back maybe 3 days a week. We get the benefit of people working together, mentoring one another, learning from each other. Still maybe a couple days where flexibility to work from home. And as long as they're coming into the office at least 3 days a week, they're going to need office furniture. And they're really going to continue to have a market where we can then produce furniture for them. And the other thing businesses are seeing as they're asking people to come back, they have to create an environment in which people want to come back into. So is the way they have their office laid out? Do they have the right setup, the right types of furniture? Because people might have times where they want to do heads down work and it has to be very quiet. There might be other times where more collaborative. They want to just pull the team together quickly, have a gathering area where they can debrief on something or brainstorm quickly. And is your office conducive to that? So what we're hearing and seeing from a lot of companies is, okay, as I'm bringing more people in, I got to look at my footprint, and is this conducive to the way people are trying to work? And that will then potentially say, okay, I got to do some remodel of my office, that people want to come back in and that they feel like they can be productive here as well as at home.
Yeah, you kind of touched on it there, but it's curious about how the wants of companies have changed and how your company's role on the sales side has changed as you go on. You're not just selling desks and chairs and that kind of thing, but do you find yourself more in a consulting role? I mean, back and forth where you really have to listen to the customer and what they want in different ways, especially post-COVID, I imagine.
Absolutely. And listening to what their needs are, because sometimes it's they want flexible space. So for us now, we hear that and we'll work with our product development team and maybe outside designers to say, okay, flexible space, we've got to design furniture now that is very mobile. So we're going to have to put casters on certain types of furniture so that people can change the setup of their office or this room very quickly to meet whatever the demands are at that time. So there's still a lot of learning from the manufacturer perspective to really understand what kind of product do we need to make that will help facilitate businesses in the way that they want their employees to work. So we've seen some transition, and I think that's going to continue to transition as more people are figuring out what is the optimal way to work in the office.
How do you differentiate Indiana Furniture? How do you differentiate your company from others in what is a very competitive marketplace?
Yeah, I think one of the things we really look at is creating authentic, real relationships with our key dealer partners across the country. We do not want to be a transactional manufacturer. We want people to know that we're trusted, that we're going to take care of if a problem arises, we're going to take care of it. We have dealers in this week from across the country, and I spent a little bit of time with them. And one of the things I always tell them is if something goes wrong, we're going to jump in and fix it. And I give them a few examples. And the question someone asked me was, what if it was our fault and not your fault on the problem? And I said, we're still going to jump in and fix it and try to ensure that your problem is taken care of as quickly as possible. And I think that builds a trust between us and our dealer, where they're going to be looking at us saying, okay, Indiana Furniture has the right product. Maybe I can get that same product elsewhere, but because I have someone that I know will take care of me, whether something goes wrong or not, becomes a differentiator that we really rely on as in our success in the field.
Much more ahead with Max Verkamp, the president and CEO at Indiana Furniture, Jasper-based company, longtime company, 120 years old. So quite a story. We're going to have much more with Max, talk about a little bit about his personal story and much more when the Business and Beyond podcast returns.
As a bank, PNC prides itself on being boring. But the truth is they couldn't be more excited to serve the dynamic Indianapolis community. For nearly 160 years, they've quietly toiled away to deliver brilliant results for their equally brilliant clients. They have dedicated PNC teams throughout the local area all ready to do the boring work to help you unlock your own brilliance. PNC Bank, brilliantly boring since 1865. PNC Bank, National Association member FDIC.
We build Indiana. The Laborers International Union of North America builds and maintains roads, bridges, and other essential infrastructure that make us the crossroads of America. So thanks to LIUNA members' work, Hoosiers have a better quality of life, like access to utilities, easier routes to jobs, schools, or medical care, and deliveries keep moving. We build Indiana for good jobs and stronger communities. The Laborers International Union of North America. We are LIUNA.
And welcome back to the Business and Beyond podcast presented by PNC. My guest this week is Max Verkamp. Max is the president and CEO at Jasper-based Indiana Furniture, a longtime Indiana company, again, based in Jasper, Indiana, and part of a very strong and a tradition-rich industry in the southern part of the state of Indiana. Max, now you grew up in Jasper.
I did, yes.
Yeah. What is it about Jasper? Jasper is one of my favorite cities in Indiana because I marvel at it as a smaller community, but one, with obviously a strong manufacturing base but has not only survived, but thrived over the years when other towns of its size and smaller have kind of unfortunately faded away. But Jasper is a success story. What is it about Jasper that makes it a place where people want to be?
Well, I think it's a combination of things. I think that Jasper has always had a lot of people that are very entrepreneurial. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of great businesses have started and flourished here, which really makes it a place that then growing up here, people will consider like, maybe I can come back to Jasper. There are good companies there. There are good opportunities. They're not just local companies. These are companies competing on a national level, an international level. And I think that's been one key aspect of it. I think another is really the environment here is very conducive to raising families. You have a good education system, you have good public works, you have the good employment opportunities. All of that then represents, hey, this is a place that I may want to raise my family and come back to. When I went away to school, I went to Notre Dame. I didn't know if I'd ever come back to Jasper. Didn't know if that would be the end goal or not, but I'm glad it did. And I've been back most of my career. Prior to Indiana Furniture, I worked for Master Brain Cabinets, the kitchen and bath manufacturer here in the county. Was with them for 24 years, lived here, Atlanta, Cincinnati, but really wanted to end up back in Jasper at some point. And just really glad to be here because of all of what Jasper and the county brings to someone living here.
You mentioned you went to Notre Dame, but and I was going to ask you this, you didn't always know or think you were going to be in the furniture business?
No, I didn't. My father worked in the kitchen and bath business. So I had done some college internships there and done some of that, but never the office furniture was never really on the radar until about 10 years ago. And I was looking for a change, and this position opened up, and I thought, well, it's in Jasper and it could be a great opportunity to jump into. And it's been a great 10 years.
Yeah. What was growing up in Jasper like? You touched on it a little bit earlier as we talked about the special sauce, if you will, of Jasper, but what was it like growing up for you in Jasper?
Um, Having parents that grew up in the area, it was very much just a lot of family. My parents both grew up were part of larger families. So I have like 31 first cousins, I think. And so a lot of family events, but also my parents and the whole community is one where you learn at an early age to give back. You give back in different ways, financially, with your time. And I think that's also part of what makes Jasper successful is that people have a willingness to give back in many ways because they know that just makes the community stronger. So it was really learning that, something that I've carried with me through the years.
As you look going forward in the office furniture business, what do you see as opportunities for the industry here in Indiana and beyond? But in terms of kind of a forward-looking vision of the office furniture business.
Yeah, I think I'm still optimistic for the industry because I think businesses are going to need offices where their employees gather, where they can innovate, where they can work together. And that's going to be a place where they're going to need furniture to accommodate all the employees coming in. What the office 20 years from now could look very, very different with where technology is and going with AI and everything. But I do think people are still going to have to come together and gather in a place for the office environment. AI is definitely going to change things. We're dabbling with it in different places, trying to figure out where it works best, whether it's within our systems, automation, how does that get incorporated from a design, how are offices designed, where does AI come into play there, knowledge transfer with employees. So we're trying it in a number of different places to see really where we can get the benefit of helping us and providing value.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about AI. Fascinating to me, talking with companies across a variety of industries and how it's impacting them and how they're integrating it. How is AI a part of your business? Maybe on the manufacturing side and what you're doing, and then how you see AI impacting your business from your customer standpoint and how they're implementing AI.
Yeah, I think from a dealer perspective, how is AI going to be incorporated when businesses working with dealer partners are designing their offices? How is AI going to incorporate the design of that footprint? What is it going to look like? And I think AI will be involved in that design process in a significant way. It's going to be how does the right tools that incorporate the manufacturer's product get included with what AI is designing for that end user? I think from a manufacturer perspective, in the manufacturing process, it's going to be a multitude of ways. How does it AI optimize product going through the manufacturing process? It's going to be from a knowledge transfer perspective as older generation retires and newer people are coming in, just asking the AI tool, well, how do I shut down at the end of the day? Or I have this problem. What do I need to consider? How do I troubleshoot this? Because there's so much knowledge that's going out the door with retirements that we've got to ensure we're able to transfer that knowledge in a tool that today's younger workers want to use, because they don't want to look at a standards book and flip through pages trying to figure out, what do I do when this goes wrong? They'd rather just ask their phone, hey,
Right.
this is the problem. How does it get fixed? So I think we're going to see it in a multitude of ways, layered into the production, layered into the office from an order processing perspective, from a customer service perspective. All of those areas are going to be impacted. But what we're seeing is when we teach the AI tool, we've got to understand what our standards are. We can't just feed in the information from maybe the owner's manual on the machine. Well, how are we utilizing that machine? How have we maybe made some customization to it that we've got to feed information into the AI tool so it understands not just the owner's manual per se, but all the modifications we made so it gives the user the right information back.
Yeah. Yeah. Final question for you, Max. Let's look out 10 years or so. When we sit down for another podcast in 10 years, where do you see Indiana furniture? I mean, so much is changing in the industry, but where would you like to see Indiana furniture 10 years from now?
Yeah, when we look at it, we want to continue to be a growing, viable manufacturer in the industry. So we're going to continue to have the products that are relevant to whatever that landscape looks like in 10 years. We're going to have the services that are going to be coupled with the products. So we're going to definitely be very viable. And we still want to be a very solid partner into the community. Good, solid companies have made Jasper and Du Bois County what it is. And we want to continue to be that partner within the community that provides good employment, that supports the community supports us. And I think that's the key for continued growth for not only for Indiana Furniture, but Jasper and Du Bois County.
Well, Max Verkamp, it's been a real treat to catch up with you and hear the story of Indiana Furniture, old school, how it was started, but also certainly modern day today, and how you continue to be a relevant player in the office furniture business. So thanks for all you do too, to make Jasper and Indiana a great place, and hope to catch up with you again soon.
Sounds great. Really appreciate the opportunity to talk today.
All right. And thank you for joining us on this episode of the Business and Beyond podcast presented by PNC. We're a weekly conversation with achievers in business, sports, entertainment, and beyond. And you can download all of our episodes and get Indiana business news 24/7. All you have to do is go to InsideIndianaBusiness.com. I'm Gerry Dick. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Do you want the real scoop on what's happening in Indiana business? Check out the IBJ podcast. I'm Mason King, and each week I sit down with people who make news in Indiana to get insights and perspectives you won't hear anywhere else. It's business, but you won't need an MBA. The guests run the gamut from CEOs, developers, and sports executives to artists and chefs and financial planners. If there's a theme, it's that everything has a cost. And success often depends on how you define profit and loss. So if you want to deepen your understanding of the people and projects shaping Indiana, give the IBJ Podcast a try. You can find it at ibjpodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
On the go? So are we. Get the IBJ Media app, your all-in-one news source for Indiana business news. Get breaking news alerts, read every story from IBJ, Inside Indiana Business, and the Indiana Lawyer, and listen to your favorite podcasts all in one place. Big news, small screen. Search IBJ Media and download the app today.